Hey guys, it's Reenactment Day here with another video, and in this video, I'm pretty sure a subscriber wanted me to do this video, but we are going to be discussing the types of bayonets, as you see, and we are going pretty much from the Model 1905 bayonet onto the M1 bayonet. I do have an M1917 bayonet, but that won't be covered in this video. So in this video, I'll be discussing the 05 bayonet through the M1 bayonet and how they attach to the haversack. So let us begin with, of course, the oldest one. Alright, I am trying out this new format of doing videos. As you can see, we got pretty much the same color ground and background and the item in front that I will be discussing. So tell me what you think of this in the comments. So let us begin. The model of 1905 bayonet, this is with a World War I scabbard. This is not an original scabbard, but it is an original bayonet. As you see, this one, of course you can tell by the name, developed in 1905. This is an original, dated 1906, so it's pretty early. They would have the wood handles at this time, again held in by a screw, and they would attach to the rifle via a button. Right there. There's a button in there, a spring, and pretty much just another beam that goes down to here. And when you press the button, that lock goes down. Now what you would do is, this would slide on the rifle, and this hole would go around the barrel, and this would go around the bayonet lug. And this hook right here would make sure the bayonet wouldn't come sliding off. So as you can see, some of these bayonets were chrome plated. Some of these, the men colored, mostly in the field, but as you can see, it has a little bit of the coloring left. So the bright shiny metal. There were two manufacturers of 05 bayonets during World War I. Springfield Armory and Rock Island Armory. Pretty sure, yeah. As you can see, bayonet is a bit bent, but again, it is an original. Has a blood groove going through the entire length of the bayonet. That will be important for when discussing other bayonets. Now, the way this bayonet was made is it is pretty much a blade with a handle, and this cross guard was heated up. I'm guessing this was heated up and the blade was cooled down or something like that, and it was hit onto the bayonet. If I were to just heat this piece up, I would be able to just take a hammer and knock it right off and replace it if needed. But this is the original cross guard as well. On the end, there's a little pommel right here. That is for two reasons. Number one, for when you're holding the bayonet, your hand won't come sliding off the bottom. And you could also use it as just to hit with. This could just be like a hammer or to hit some kraut, but a lot of time they just use the axe or like the edge of a pickaxe as a hammer and not the bayonet. These are reproduction handles on it. Very nice repros. What I read was the reason later on. Actually, you know what? We should continue with the World War I and not jump around. So the World War I style scabbard, as you see, it is canvas with a leather end, and inside there would be a wood inside with this metal bit on top. And one feature that the 05 and M1 bayonets have are that it actually locks into the scabbard, so it won't come flying out. The German bayonets, and I'm pretty sure the Model 1917 bayonets, actually had a little mechanism inside to keep the bayonet fairly tight in the sheath and stop it from rattling around. Right now you can kind of hear it rattling around, and that's something you wouldn't want in combat. Well, especially if you're trying to be sneaky. If you're in the middle of combat, then there's bigger things to worry about and louder things. This is not the wood internals of it. This is I had to make the internals of it from an old plastic repro scabbard. If you want, I can do a video on how I did that. But as you can see, this is the model 1905 bayonet. This would hook on to the either haversack or belt, depending on what you're using it for, via these wire hooks. And we will move on to the actual how the handles have changed and what happened in 1942. So the handles, I'll just take one of the bayonets I have to show you, were later switched to these plastic ones as World War II grew near. These were a lot better and easier to make than the wood handles, and just as tough. There was almost no reason on the creation of the, needing to switch the handles, but these were just cheaper and easier to make and made no difference when changing them. So, next, the scabbard for the 05 bayonet as World War II grew near was the, it would be this kind of scabbard. You can see it's made out of a different material than just the leather, wood, and canvas. It is somewhat of a fiberglass material. It is not fiberglass, but it's kind of like it. It has the metal end on it, and this one is actually an 05 scabbard cut down. So this was for this full length of bayonet, but it was cut down. This is just a plastic repro to show you kind of what it would look like. We can just switch out the bayonets. And as World War II grew near, this is what it pretty much looked like. And with the wood handles, you can just take out these ones. With the with the plastic handles, Bakelite, I should say, actually. That's what the bayonet would look like. So now we move on to what they did to these bayonets in 1942 and the M1 bayonet. Now, this bayonet proved irrelevant during World War II, the length of it, anyways. They knew bayonet charges weren't going to be as common and as frequent, so they decided to cut down their old stock and develop the M1 bayonet. For now, I have both, but I'm showing you right now. This is a cut down 05 bayonet. This is made by Rock Island Armory. See the Bakelite handles. It has been recolored. And you remove them. As you can see, this has the kind of swept back cut. Some of them were cut to a point like the M1 bayonet, but some of them were also swept back like that. Now, as you can see, one way you can tell an 05 bayonet, a cut down 05 bayonet from an M1 bayonet, is, one, it should have the remnants of a serial number on it. As you can see, should be dated pretty early, 1917, and this blood groove, as I mentioned, this would be important. Blood groove just continues on like it used to. You can see, the blood groove looks like it was going to continue, and it would have. Now, on this bayonet, the manufacturer, you can see that right there, but actually on the handle, there's another manufacturer of the M1 bayonet, but the reason that is there is because that is the company that cut down these bayonets, well, this bayonet in particular, and refinished it. And as you can see, the finish on it is almost perfect. So that is a very nice example of a cut down 05. And with the kind of with this style of scabbard, this used to be as long as the 05, but these were also cut down with the bayonet. So you see, it has the metal hook. It's all metal right here. And this is how it, again, would hook on to the cartridge belt or haversack. Now, again, goes into the scabbard, locks in. Mechanism is all the same on the inside. And that is the model of 1905 cut down bayonet. We'll put that back in the background as well. Now, lastly, moving on to the original M1 bayonet. Now, as you can see, a little difference in manufacturing I realized was just how these are fastened on. You can see that's kind of like a crimped on there, while this one is just a piece of sheet metal folded over. So let us move on to this. As you can see, scabbard is in very nice condition. This is the M7 scabbard. Again, it's all similar. Bayonet locks into the scabbard. Metal, they're pretty much the same type of scabbard. Now the M1 bayonet, as you can see, goes to a point like this. The blood groove does not look like it keeps going because it ends. Again, Bakelite handles, same mechanism on the inside, same way it attaches to the rifle. But when the M1 bayonet was being developed, and also on the later stages of the 05 bayonet, they were made by many more manufacturers. So as you can see, it is made by UFH. And the M1 bayonets, when developed, I think it was like after 1943, they were not dated. Because, you know, it was just not needed to be dated. So, you just have the manufacturer, the US, the flaming ball on it, and no serial number. So that is the M1 bayonet. Now let's talk quickly about the rifles that would go with these bayonets. The 05 bayonet, let me just move these out of the way. The 05 bayonet was most commonly seen with the 03 Springfield. The P17 rifle that the US developed would take the Model 1917 bayonet, and it would not fit the Model 05 bayonet. So these were seen with the Model 1903 Springfield. And this style was seen in World War I through early World War II, 1942, when they started cutting it down. The cut down 05 and the M1 bayonet, these bayonets were seen with the 03 Springfield with the use in World War II, and they were also seen with the M1 Garand rifle. And, you know, as you know, the difference between the 03 and the Garand was semi-automatic, 03 was bolt action. But, again, bayonets were cut down just because they weren't going to use do bayonet charges, so this became more and more of a combat knife. And if you see, some of these bayonets, again, were cut down during the 1950s to be even shorter because they were just becoming more of a combat knife and utility knife rather than a bayonet. But they still had became the combat knife with the option to be a bayonet, a lot like modern day rifles. So now we will move on to attaching it to the haversack and how they would fasten. Right now we have the M1928 style haversack, and it is pretty basic how the bayonet would go on. There are two loops right here. They would have eyelets, but mine tore out for some reason. Two loops for the wire hook, and a little canvas loop right here for the end of the bayonet to go through. So what you would do is you would take your bayonet with scabbard, feed it through there, and then go up to the top and hook it on to the loops. Now this is a little tricky to do, but you get used to it, and you get pretty quick at it, but still takes a minute. So it's on there. As you can see, bayonet goes through this loop to keep it from flopping around. And it is still easily accessible. Well, not easily, but you can take it out. It's hard to put it back in when the pack is on your back. But again, stops it from flopping around and, you know, just falling off. So, next, the M1 bayonets and the cut down 05s had a problem with this style. Because the haversack was designed 1928 when we were still using the long 05 bayonets. World War II came along, we didn't change the design at all. So you would take the M1 bayonet, you would hook it on to the loops. Just takes a minute again. Especially this one, the wire hook's a little bent, but it still goes on. Okay. You hook it through the loops, and as you see, the bottom, a lot of time, barely reaches or doesn't reach the loop, which is a problem because that makes your bayonet flop around a lot. That is one of the problems with the M1 bayonet, but at my last reenactment I went to, I noticed some guys had their bayonets in a very special way that I thought I would share because I like, and I'm probably going to do it from now on. You take the bayonet, you actually feed it into the haversack, and then you loop it on. And this solves the problem of your bayonet flopping around because it is in the haversack while it's still in the same area, still easily accessible, still hooked on. It's pretty much a win-win. So that is how I'm going to hook it on from now, and a cool way that I found out how to hook it on. So that is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. The M1, this was suggested by a viewer a couple weeks ago, and I finally got around to actually filming it. This video is probably going to be coming out in a couple weeks after I record it, because I just have a couple videos that I'm going to release before it. Let me just line up all the knives. There we go. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you like the video, like and subscribe for more videos like this. I have a lot of videos on my channel on just tips and tricks of reenacting. If you have any ideas for any videos, leave them down in the comments. I will try and get to them as soon as I can. And I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys later.